Hey, everyone. This is Andy Hall. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We have a lot of stories to cover today. Target and Pokemon cards. Ontario finding priests. That's about as much of a happy dance that I do. Space Force in the news, not for a good reason. New Zealand closing down immigration, kind of, sort of. Marjorie Taylor Greene, craziness, and of course, Cat Watch. Let's do something funny first.
No, when I was in church, I dated a Christian boy, and he broke up with me because he said that God told him to. Which, I think is pretty uncool of God. Just take time out of his busy schedule. Just tell this kid to break up with me. Especially because that was the same week as Hurricane Katrina. So what, God was just up in heaven oh no, the levees are about to break. Oh wait, but what's happening over here at this youth group? One of my followers is dating that bitch Emily. That's not my plan. Here's my plan. You gotta break up with Emily over the phone. And then the very next day you gotta get back together with your ex-girlfriend, and then you guys gotta get married real quick and move to Temecula. That's my plan. Anyways, back to the levee. Oh, fuck.
All right, she's hilarious, everyone. All right, so what are we going to do? I hope everyone's doing well. Checking out the chat here. Simply Secular Dave. Yeah, that's right. Cat Watch. We got some news. Could today be Cat Day? I think so. Tobin Templeman. Glad to see you're here. Scott Duke. Hey. It's another day. Another day, another week. Derek Cruz. John Hudson. Hope you're doing okay, man. Brain Bug. Buzzing away. James Henry, glad to see you here, sir. And Dr. Mordecai, do be check. And because of that joke, my video probably got demonetized because I did it within 5 minutes. There was a curse within the first 5 minutes, but F them, right? I've had just about enough of the, hey, Jessi Bear. And Mighty Mouse, Barbara Duke Scarlet. All right, I think got everyone. All right, now, so we're just going to jump into the most important story. We're not talking about the Israeli Palestinian issue, though we'll cover some of that today. But what I'm going to talk about is Cat Watch. Now then, do I have a picture of a cat? I do. Do I have a picture of the cat? Oh, look at her. Look at her. That's the cat, everyone. You're going to get sick and tired of me talking about the cat, but that is the cat. Her current name is Daffodil. I don't know what name we're going to give the cat eventually. The Daffodil's about a year old. Super friendly. Super positive. I'd say, yes, that's a PAWS positive. Super positive. Saw her yesterday. We got connected with Daffodil via a Facebook group, which I think, did Jessi Bear recommend us using a Facebook group to grab a cat? I think so. How can you not like orange cats, Dr. Mordecai? How can you not like orange cats? So, yes, Daffodil. We don't know what her name is going to be. I think we had a couple of potential names being thrown out there. Biscuit's an option. Butters is another option. And Yo-Yo is another option. And if you're just naming her Ivanka, I'm not naming her Ivanka. No, Lily, huh? That's a good name. That we did consider Lily, to tell you the truth. But I think the three, at least right now, I mean, this can all change, right? I'm picking up the cat today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, approximately. When I get out of work, and so right now, the three options that we have are Biscuit, Butters, and Yo-Yo. So I don't know. My heart belongs to Biscuit, but I might get outvoted because everyone gets a vote, right? All three of us, me, the girlfriend, and my kid. So there are three votes. Any suggestions? Feel free to put them in the chat. And if you're just tuning in, yes, I'm talking about getting a new cat, but don't worry. We're going to be talking about real news within a few minutes, in a few seconds, maybe. I don't know. Yes, the FB cat adoption. So we, as many of you know, we were trying to go through area shelters, and that didn't work for us because as soon as a cat came on the market, it was snatched up very quickly. So we went with an FB group. And highly effective. I'm happy with the FB group. And oh, hey, Brandbug says, I had an orange cat for 13 years. Excellent. He was the best cat ever. Well, I have high hopes. I don't allow myself to hope. As many of you know, I don't allow myself to hope that often, but I'm allowing myself to get somewhat high expectations for this cat. We visited the cat yesterday in the next city over. The cat was very playful, quite friendly, and it checked off all the boxes. So, see, Scott Duke, I like. Biscuit is a dog's name. It's still a hilarious cat name. It's still a hilarious cat name, though. Yeah, cats are pretty cool beans. You read about that, James Henry. Marmaduke Scarlet says, I had a marmalade cat for 9 years, and he was amazing. Yeah, did anyone see it? So, yeah. So Agent Orange. Oh, Simply Secular Dave. We're trying to do something. See, we want a name for the cat that has only like one syllable, maybe two syllables, something simple, something that rolls off the tongue there. Though Agent Orange would be hilarious. I'm not going to lie to you. I like this shot of the cat too. The cat is, the picture is being taken from that heroic pose that you'll see in movies, right? The looking up at the hero looking outward. It's a heroic pose for this cat. So the current name of the cat is Daffodil. That'll be changed at some point. I'm not sure what. All righty. How about Jenga as her name? Oh, that's an interesting idea, Jessi Bear. I hadn't thought about that. Right? Yeah. So Clementine's a nice name too, Mighty Mouse. I like that. Kumquat. All good names. And Cat's Up. I like that for the cat's name. Cat's Up. All right. I don't know if you all watched, or I know some of you watched Daffy. That's interesting, Scott Duke. Last night at 10:30 on the Late Show, Pat Green came on. Pat Green's a blogger, a photojournalist, a visual artist, and he has a new book out of photographs dedicated to mental health. If you haven't seen the video, it's worth seeing. There's a special deal in the description of that video that allows you to get the book for 40% off. So Pat Green, he's been on the channel before. Brilliant guy, super talented guy. He has a great story. He was once a minister. He has a blog on Patheos, Transparent Expedition. Great guy. And we chatted for about an hour and talked about all kinds of things, about art, about the LGBTQ community, about mental health, about the nuts and bolts of photography. And I learned things. I love these conversations that I have on these late night shows, 10:30 p.m. on Sundays, because I always walk away learning like a bunch of stuff. Hey, Dragons in Genesis. Oh, you watched that today, Marmaduke Scarlet. That's good. I hope you enjoyed it. I found it touching. I find whenever I talk with Pat, it's an emotional. It's I have feels. That's what I have. I have the feels. So yeah. All right. So are we going to talk about news? Let's do memes first. Let's do memes before we start doing like news stuff. This is a classic. It's been around for a while. I'm sure you may have seen it. I might have shared it before. I mean, I don't know. You say to yourself, wow, that looks like a pretty crappy trap, though. It's like, yeah, it is. It's pretty crappy. And this is just, a simple play on words. A werewolf, a werewolf, a werewolf, and a werewolf. Simple puns, simple wordplay there. And of course, bringing it back to Monty Python, or bringing it to Monty Python, I guess. Here we go. Trump supporters in 2016, he lost. Get over it. Trump supporters in 2021, actually, it would be Trump supporters, she lost. Get over it. Trump supporters in 2021, Biden stole the election. The emotions were rigged. Dead people voted. And it's not over yet. Good times, everyone. Good times. An accurate meme indeed, sir. An accurate meme indeed. We could just talk about cats all morning, but I actually prepared a show. We can talk about cats all morning. But believe me, there'll be cat stuff down the road. All right, first note. So Pokemon and Target. One of the themes I like to cover here, and we'd like to talk about, right, is about how we have bad brains. Our brain evolution only does good enough. It doesn't do perfect. And a prime example of that is how our brains are just like stitched together with Scotch tape and glue sometimes. And we do crazy things. And sometimes those things have to do with Pokemon. Some of them have to do, and sometimes when you have Pokemon with capitalism, with greed and bad brains, things get kind of cray. Things get kind of crazy. Target will temporarily stop selling Pokemon and sports trading cards in stores due to safety concerns. Yes, apparently we can't handle Pokemon cards, and we can't handle baseball cards either. This is a sad state of affairs right here, is that Target has to stop selling Pokemon and baseball cards in stores due to safety concerns. Apparently, some people just can't handle it. Links in the description, everyone. I wish this was a fake story. But it's not a fake story. Because right here from CNN, Target has announced that it will temporarily stop selling trading cards of both the sports and Pokemon variety in stores following a recent violent dispute at one of its locations. Last week, a Target in Wisconsin was locked down after a man was physically assaulted by 4 others over sports trading cards. The safety of our guests and our team is our top priority, Target said in a statement to CNN. Out of an abundance of cautions, we've decided to temporarily suspend the sale of MLB, NFL, NBA, and Pokemon trading cards within our stores effective May 14th. However, the cards will still be available online, the company said. I would have thought that would have happened in Florida. I know many of you were surprised that it occurred in Wisconsin. I thought the event would have happened in Florida, since so many other crazy events we've covered recently have occurred in Florida. But hey, Wisconsin wants to let you know there's still some crazy people there willing to get into fights over Pokemon cards. The value of trading cards has skyrocketed in recent months during the COVID-19 pandemic. In December 2020, a rare Charizard Pokemon card, and this is I'm more of a Charmander person, but this is an evolved. So I know something about Pokemon. This is an evolved version of Charmander, everyone. But you don't care about that. So that's Charizard Pokemon card with a minimum bid set at $50,000, sold for $360,000 through Golden Auctions, another sold for $400,000 earlier this year, and the auction house told CNN they've seen an increase in value over the course of the pandemic. Sports cards have seen a similar rise. In early February, a Michael Jordan rookie baseball card in pristine condition sold for a record $738,000 at an auction run by Golden Auctions. The same exact item went for nearly $215,000 just weeks before. So what's the moral? I don't know if there's any moral to any of these stories, to tell you the truth. But I suppose when you're locked in the house, and you have cash on hand, you're willing to be like, just spend it in whatever way some people, right? Most of us here, especially on the show, are responsible with whatever money that we have. But some people, when they have money and there's nothing to do, they will spend that money one way or the other. Story continues. Walmart said it continues to sell trading cards in stores, and a spokesperson told CNN that the retailer has seen an increase in customer demand for them. We are determining what, if any, changes are needed to meet customer demand while ensuring a safe and enjoyable shopping experience, a spokesperson said in a statement to CNN. Prior to Target's last move, the store limited card purchases to just one item a day, saying that guests were lining up overnight to get their hands on trading cards, CNN affiliate WISN reported. Target did not say when it will begin selling cards in stores again. So I don't know, everyone. Maybe if you have a Charizard card, or maybe your kids have a Charizard card somewhere kicking around your house, that could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know. But it seems like, the economic bubble, the bubble for trading cards is quite frothy. You still buy, you might be sitting on a gold mine, Jessi Bear. You might. Well, that's what it is, James Henry. Anything to make a fast buck. This is the first time I've heard of the explosive market in trading cards. I always knew that there was like some kind, there was always a market for sports cards and for Pokemon cards, but I had no idea that it had blown up over the last year. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Oh, hey, hit the like button, or the Pokemon games will attack you on the street for your collection. Yeah, I imagine that there are some people who really have to, now that you come to think about it, there must be people who insure their Pokemon cards, right? Because there are people who insure their baseball card collection. Oh, the girlfriend's in the chat. I did not see her in the chat. This is why we can't have nice things. That's right, the girlfriend. I did alert everyone to the Cat Watch update. Just to let you know. Oh, Beanie Babies. I remember Beanie Babies. Now they're worthless, right? There was a Beanie Baby explosion. I don't even know how long ago that was. Was that back in the 90s? I think it was back in the 90s. You have a bone to pick with how the brain files memories. Very shoddy. Very shoddy. That's how it does. All right. I think we covered everything. All right. I think I'm up to date with the chat. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Are we going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene? I think we will. This is some more drama about her just wanting to stir the pot up to get more attention. Take a look at this story. Take a look.
Congressman Eric Swalwell suddenly found himself in a shouting match with one of Greene's staffers over wearing a mask. Let's watch.
Eric Swalwell, walking in here, my staffer nicely says to him, "Congressman, you don't have to wear your mask anymore," because with what Biden said yesterday. He chases my staffer inside, everybody saw it, and gets in his face, curses at him, saying, "You don't tell me what to do."
And with me now, who I'm sure has a different version of events, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, who is also the author of Endgame, Inside the Impeachment of Donald J. Trump. And Congressman, take us exactly through what happened between you and this aide for Marjorie Taylor Greene. You just heard her say a few moments ago that her aide politely said something to you.
Like we were friends.
Like you were friends. Yeah. You go way back. Tell us what happened.
Well, I was leaving the House floor. You're still required to wear a mask on the House floor. And frankly, Jim, I just forgot to take my mask off once I came out of the building. I love having my mask off now. And Green's aide said, "Take your mask off, Congressman." And I kept walking past, and I thought, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. These marauding goons who are going around trying to bully my other colleagues. So I just went up to him and, asked him who he was. And
See, right there, I just want to point out when things start getting real, as soon as you're walking away from someone's talking smack, right? You're walking away from someone talking smack, you stop, and then you turn around to confront that person. There is a high percentage that things are going to get crazy right there. That's a sign.
I told him, "Don't tell me what to do," with some words that you can't say on CNN. And predictably, he went speechless. But, this is not the way it works around here. I've worn a staff badge and I've worn a member pin. And when I was a staffer, I would never talk to a member of Congress like that. And my staffers tell me all the time they would love to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene and tell her what they think of her policies, but there's still decorum and respect. And I think people are just losing patience with Greene.
Yeah, what is going on? What is happening with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Are other members of Congress besides Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez concerned about her stability?
Yeah, freshman Cori Bush, right? Yeah. Also had a number of encounters with Greene and had to have her office moved because of what Greene's doing. I mean, look, she's clearly trying to draw the foul. She gets in your face and then she goes and hits send on the fundraising emails that go out because she doesn't have much committee work to do. But, this is a place that needs to start functioning again. It needs to recognize the truth of what happened on January 6th and also, take up, the America Family Plan, the America Jobs Plan. But this is just more distraction.
What is going on? There almost seems to be just a total breakdown in civility. Is that just coming from one side, in your view? Or, you're going to have some Republicans out there watching right now are saying, hold on, the Democrats also are responsible for some of this as well.
Well, I feel like you're seeing responsible Republicans like Adam Kinzinger, like Liz Cheney and others, joining us and calling for more decorum. Second, that the Greene behavior, frankly, Jim, I was a prosecutor. I've convicted people for less on stalking charges. I mean, she is following Ms. Ocasio-Cortez around for years, trying to engage with her. She just needs to let it go. She's just not that into you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry.
But she doesn't let it go, if she keeps harassing her, stalking her, chasing her around the halls of Congress, should the Capitol Police, should the Sergeant at Arms do something about it?
Yes, for the safety of Ms. Cortez, because it's not just on the campus. This continues for Alex when she goes home. So she goes home in her district and she gets threats because Marjorie Taylor Greene will post about her and the threats come in.
All right, guys, I'm in my super sick car and I'm at my
I hate commercials. I just hate commercials. I hate how the commercials just kind of like slide into the end of those videos. But Marjorie Taylor Greene just being crazy. Her staffers, of course, are being weaponized by the idiot so that the staffers feel like they can harass, Congress people, right? That's crazy. Yeah, she is. Yeah. Well, yeah, Liz Cheney is not a hero, Mighty Mouse. And this is true. She is not a hero. And interesting point about Liz Cheney and the woman who's taking her place as the third in power for the Republican conference in the House. I saw this on Fareed Zakaria GPS yesterday, is that Liz Cheney has a 74%, maybe 77% rating by a major conservative group and how conservative you are. And this woman who's taking her place from upstate New York, she has a 43%. So this woman who's taking Liz Cheney's place is far less conservative than Cheney is. But of course, the only thing that matters in today's Republican Party is the cult of personality around Donald J. Trump. That's it. All right. Are we doing halftime show? Are we doing halftime show right now? Or are we going to talk about pastors being arrested? Not arrested, being fined. I think we're going to talk about pastors being fined up in Canada. This is from The Friendly Atheist. Links in the description below, everyone. And I should mention that we're doing the after party after show. It's an open room at 10 o'clock. So links are in the description below in case you want to join me and whoever else shows up for the open room at 10. Ontario judge shuts down church and fines pastors for defying COVID restrictions. When I first saw that title, I read it as fires pastors. It's like, well, I didn't know Ontario judge could fire pastors. There was a bit of wishful thinking on my part. An Ontario judge is fining pastors for being, dickbags. Anti-COVID dickbags. Here it is. Once again, a Canadian judge has rightfully ordered a church to be shut down for repeatedly ignoring COVID restrictions and putting the public safety in jeopardy. Locks are placed around the doors, and no one will be allowed to enter Aylmer's Church of God in Ontario. Superior Court Justice Thomas didn't take the situation lightly. Thomas said his decision will serve as an example to the church and other people in the province who are contemplating breaking the rules under Ontario law. Thomas also fined the church $35,000, Pastor Henry Hildebrand $10,000, and Assistant Pastor Peter Wall $3,000. The church gets fined, senior pastor gets fined, and the assistant pastor gets fined. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. After the penalty handed down, Hildebrand posted a video on social media saying, "Nothing will deter us. Nothing will stop the people of God." Our government right now is allowing unelected health officials to push our judges to make criminals out of law-abiding people, he said from the pulpit. I trust this will be a wake-up call for us like never before. This is not the end. This is the beginning of where we are going. Just another COVID pastor idiot. At least his church has been shut down, locked up, and at least he's been fined too. Story continues. They're not making criminals out of innocent people. They're punishing people who ignore health restrictions in the midst of a global emergency. Hildebrand, of all people, should understand that since his sermons routinely urge members to disobey local restrictions. More recently, the pastor has become one of the public faces of the anti-lockdown movement, welcoming politicians and others who are against masking and other public health measures to Sunday services. The Sunday sermons have divided the small southwestern Ontario town. Sure, that's a little typo there, smally. But, so at least the church was shut down. At least the minister was fined, as well as the church fined, and the assistant pastor fined. Good news all around. Checking out the chat. Organized religion equals mind control. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Jessi Bear points out, more reasons to move to Canada. I do have a story here that you may not have noticed about New Zealand. New Zealand, of course, being one of the countries that most people want to immigrate to. If you're going to immigrate to a country, New Zealand would be high on the list, but they are restricting immigrants. But that's another story. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. I think. All right. Let's do halftime show. It's that time. Halftime. Before we go to our next stories.
A perfection salad from 1961. In typical 60s fashion, we're using gelatin. We meet again. Nothing says salad like animal collagen. Half cup of boiling water. Apple cider vinegar. Lemon juice. Bit of salt. In you go. Now we shred celery, carrots, and cabbage. Always wash these real good. Celery's just like your parents. Dirtier than you think. This was supposed to be a fun way to get kids to eat their vegetables. How'd that work out, America? Onion powder. Pepper. Okay. What's the point? Go. A loaf pan? Really? I just love when my salad comes in a brick. Good night. Good morning. It's time for mayonnaise. What have you perfected? Garbage. It's cold, limp, and crunchy and bad.
That did not look appealing whatsoever. Negatively appealing. Oh, man. Dr. Osiris is here. Good morning, Dr. Osiris. Glad to see that you're here. So what are we doing here? What's the next story? Space Force. Do we want to talk about New Zealand or Space Force, everyone? What do you want to hear about first? New Zealand or Space Force? They're two different stories. They're two different stories. Of course, Space Force has nothing to do with New Zealand. I had Space Force next, but I want to talk about New Zealand, I guess. All right, we're going to do New Zealand. Check out what's going on. Here we go. New Zealand to cut low-skill immigration and refocus on wealthy. Boo, New Zealand. I am both low-skill and non-wealthy. Government signals sweeping changes to address reliance on temporary migrant behavior. And there we go. We have the PM there, Jacinda Ardern, with the tourism minister, and they just simply can't afford to simply turn on the tap to the previous immigration settings. Oh my, here we go. New Zealand has become increasingly appealing destination for those seeking a haven from COVID-19, economic recession, or chaotic international politics. In recent years, the country gained a reputation for billionaires' bolt holes of mega-rich speculators, including Peter Thiel, bought up remote properties in scenic, isolated regions. But in a post-COVID world, the immigration dream will be less accessible, at least for those who don't fall into the mega-rich category. On Monday, the New Zealand government announced it would be narrowing pathways for those hoping to migrate and work in the country, particularly those it classed as low-skill and low-wage workers. It simultaneously announced new measures to attract rich investors. It's a nice idea, right? But we've tried this here in the States. For agriculture, for an example, various states have tried getting everyday Americans to pick crops. And the people here don't want to, if you grew up here in the States, you would rather, no, picking crops, it's a horrible job. It's hard work. That's what it is. It's honest work, but it is hard work. And from what I remember of the statistics, farms, they were looking for workers, basically. They were hurt for workers because of the migration policies of Donald J. Trump during his administration. Let's continue. When our borders are fully open again, we can't afford to simply turn on the tap to the previous immigration settings, the tourism minister Stuart Nash said in a speech on Monday evening, which signaled sweeping changes ahead for immigration. COVID-19 has starkly highlighted our reliance on migrant labor, particularly temporary migrant labor. The pressure we have seen on housing and infrastructure in recent years means we need to get ahead of the population growth, he said. I don't know. That doesn't smell right. There's something. Now, I'm not intimately aware of the socioeconomic condition of New Zealand, but at no point did New Zealand seem to be a non-wealthy country that didn't have enough to go around. Here we go. Last slide, everyone. On Monday, Ardern, the PM, said the government was using COVID-19 as an opportunity to reconsider areas such as immigration. She would not be drawn on how many people would be affected by the changes, saying it was all about outcomes for New Zealand, not crude numbers. Yeah, that sounds like BS too. The Labour government's immigration policy, after initially being elected to power in 2017, was to reduce the net migration by about a third, cutting 20,000 to 30,000 migrants from the then total of about 73,000. Well, there you go. New Zealand shutting its doors to poor people and low-skilled labor. I don't know if that's going to work out for them. That might be unrealistic. If you make people pay to pick produce, well, this is interesting, right? We have, a girlfriend and I have talked about this before, about going apple picking. It's like I never saw the purpose of apple picking, because why would I pay someone so that I could pick my own apples? This work thing. That's right, Dr. Osiris. I said work. And let me tell you here, in the Boston area, we speak the Queen's English properly. Everyone here should be, following our proud example. Let's see. John Hudson says, I have a friend who moved to New Zealand. My only friend who has his master's in business from Harvard. Yep. Yeah. Interesting. Margaret Scarlett says, UPick is one of the few remaining local tourist attractions. Surprisingly, it does really appeal to a lot of people. Just going out there into farms and just picking produce. Never saw it. Never, my ex-wife was really into going apple picking once a year, maybe twice a year. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what Andy Hall does. I don't think I can do that. All right, Space Force. We're going to talk about Space Force. You guys want to know about Space Force? You thought Space Force went away? Space Force didn't go away, right? Space Force didn't go away. It's here. Here we go. There's some graduating from the Air Force Academy. This is the graduation ceremony at the Air Force Academy, and I guess Space Force officers graduate from the Air Force Academy. So there isn't just a special Starfleet Academy, right? There's no separate Space Force Academy right now. I guess they're hanging out with the airport folks, Air Force folks. Washington, D.C., this is from CNN, as you can tell, a Space Force lieutenant colonel has been removed from his command after appearing on a conservative podcast criticizing the U.S. military. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer joined the Steve Gruber show to discuss his new book, Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's Goal of Conquest and the Unmaking of the U.S. Military. All right, so just with a book like that, right? Marxism in the U.S. military. The guy's a wingnut. He's part of the Jordan Peterson, if you don't read enough Dostoevsky, you're going to become a Marxist. That group. So the guy's already a lunatic, which alleges that Marxist ideologies are becoming widespread within the armed forces. He expounded on these concerns on the podcast. So I'm going to predict that when he talks about Marxism in the military, what he's really talking about treating people like human beings in the military, allowing gay people being out and about in the military, that kind of thing. Thinly veiled dog whistles, my friends, for white supremacy. That's what that is. Since taking command as a commander about 10 months ago, I saw what I consider fundamentally incompatible with competing narratives of what America was and should be, Lohmeyer said. That wasn't just prolific in social media or throughout the country during this past year, but spreading throughout the U.S. military, and I had recognized those narratives of being Marxist in nature. Probably the concepts he's talking about being, Marxist in nature is not, police shouldn't be shooting anyone in the back 7 times. Cops shouldn't be kneeling on necks. Perhaps we live in a society that has structural racism involved, baked into it. That's what he's talking about. When pressed on exactly what he meant, Lohmeyer decried the New York Times 1619 Project, a historical look at how slavery formed America's institutions, as anti-American. See, that's the thing. There's this meme going around, and I'm sure you've all seen it. America is so racist that as soon as you start talking about being anti-racist, they think you're un-American. Let's go. Lohmeyer did not immediately respond to the CNN's request for comment. Quote, Lieutenant General Stephen Wetting, Space Operations Command Commander, I guess he's like the admiral of Starfleet there, relieved Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer of command of the 11th Space Warning Squadron, Buckley Air Force Base, Colorado, May 14th, due to loss of trust and confidence in his ability to lead, a Defense Department official told CNN. The decision was based on public comments made by Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer in a recent podcast. Lieutenant General Wetting has initiated a command-directed investigation on whether these comments constituted prohibited partisan political activity. Gosh, you think it's partisan political activity? Yeah, maybe. Another defense official said the investigation would look at all the elements of rules and policy by which the book was published. It is not clear whether Lohmeyer consulted his chain of command before publishing a blurb about the book on Amazon, described it as a timely and bold contribution from an active duty Space Force lieutenant colonel who sees the impact of new Marxist agenda at the ground level within our armed forces. Conservative Republican Matt Gaetz. Oh, that's who you want, right? If you're a conservative dickbag, going on a conservative dickbag podcast, what you get a freaking hard on when soon to be convicted pedophile Matt Gaetz comes to your support right there. Conservative Republican Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida tweeted Sunday that he would be seeking action on this in the Armed Service Committee, though he did not specify what action that could be. Lieutenant Colonel Lorimer is a patriot telling the truth about the attempted wokeification of our military. And worse, Gaetz said, his demotion is clearly retaliatory. Basically, as we all know, too, is that the Biden administration is trying to get white supremacists and fascists out of the military to weed them out. Check out the chat. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, so good to know about the notice running the military, indeed. Hey, Theo, glad to see that you're here. Oh, Mel Brooks Marathon. That sounds pretty good. I don't even know how this thread came about, but a Mel Brooks Marathon's pretty cool. I could do that. Marxism equals authority. That's right. At least, I mean, all right, I think I got everyone here. Here we go. I know a good chunk of military members. It's currently under the Air Force, and that's how they pulled staff to Space Force, right? They're pulling staff from the Air Force to the Space Force. I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm looking at you, Simply Secular Dave. That's right. All right, so Space Terp. All right. I think I caught up with everything. I hope Gaetz gets what he deserves. That's what I hope. I'd be remiss to not talk about, or at least share a video about, Israel and the Palestinians. Religion poisons everything, as Christopher Hitchens said, and it ruins real estate too. All right, let me just. I know this is the most exciting part of the show right here when I work to share screens. Give me a second. And is that right? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Horrible news from the Middle East.
Israeli artillery were fired on Gaza Monday morning as hostilities entered a second week. Overnight, Israel launched dozens of airstrikes on Gaza and the Hamas Islamists who ruled the strip where 2 million Palestinians live. The sound of explosions roared as dozens of fighter jets bombed what Israel said were underground tunnels used by Hamas. Meanwhile, militants in the Palestinian enclave fired rockets at the southern Israeli cities of Beersheba and Ashkelon. Israeli aircraft struck 9 residences belonging to high-ranking Hamas commanders, the military said. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel's campaign in Gaza was continuing at full force and that deterrence had to be achieved to prevent future conflict with Hamas. US President Joe Biden said his administration was working with all parties to achieve sustained calm.
We also believe Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live in safety and security and enjoy equal measure of freedom, prosperity, and democracy.
Yet there's no sign of an end to hostilities, despite international calls for a ceasefire. It follows a crescendo of global concern over the weekend after an Israeli airstrike in Gaza destroyed several homes, killing 42 people, including 10 children.
I'm Coulter. My brother Trent and I.
Yes, Simply Secular Dave does point out that Iron Dome does intercept missiles, these rockets coming in from Gaza, but that's only 1 in 3. That's only 1 in 3. And once you know the capability, it's interesting because there's been this conversation every once in a while whenever North Korea sends up a sends up a test missile. And some people say, well, what if we just shoot it down? Can't we just shoot down those kind of missiles? The thing is that once you know how effective, once the other side knows how effective your missile defense system is, they'll just plan to shoot out more rockets. So, if people in Gaza know that Iron Dome or if one side knows that you can shoot down 33% of their missiles coming in, they'll just shoot more missiles if they can. to affect their aims, to get their goals. So that Israel, there are political reasons, domestic political reasons, why Netanyahu and why Hamas are doing what they're doing. Netanyahu hasn't been able to form a government in Israel. This could be a way of just getting his base energized. There's been some missteps in how to handle, maybe intentional missteps, in terms of the Israeli police forces. The West Bank and Gaza, they were planning to do a vote, as I understand it, and this might also be furthering Hamas's political goals within the Strip as well as the West Bank. So there are incentives right now for both sides to keep fighting. All right. So yeah, see how I just kind of like threw that Israeli, the most controversial piece that we talked about today. It's very controversial here in the States, right? Because I know that the Hamas doesn't want to vote. Yeah, well, they don't want to. Hamas doesn't want to vote because they know that they'll lose. So, and remember, the only reason why Hamas is in control of the Gaza Strip is because they kicked out Fatah. I mean, how many years ago was this? It was a while back. There was a little civil war there going on in the Gaza Strip. So yeah, tragedy in the Middle East, tragedy in Israel and Gaza. Tragedy. At least we don't have Donald J. Trump in charge here in the States to make the situation worse. Or worser. I know that's not a word, everyone. But if Donald J. Trump was involved, the Israelis would be even more emboldened, and the States would be making things much worse. This is true. This is, I just tried to hit that. Fatah failed to deliver because of corruption. They are, there's no doubt. There's not. No doubt. All right. So what did we cover today, everyone? We covered, let's try to cleanse our palate here about something positive, right? Let's try to, we covered Cat Watch, right? Daffodil. I'm picking up Daffodil today. That's her interim name. I haven't really figured out what her final name is. The top three right now seems to be Butters, Biscuit, and Yo-Yo. I am a big fan of Yo-Yo Ma, the Jealous, to tell you the truth. So I think Yo-Yo is a fun name and also kind of geeky on the geek side of things. So picking her up today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, depending on what traffic is, of course. And other stories we got, Target is preventing people from buying Pokemon cards and Major League Baseball cards and NHL cards. And yeah, that's right. This guy has caused a fight in a Wisconsin Target. So Target just said, listen, we can't be selling these things in our stores anymore because people can't be responsible. People can't be responsible to buy trading cards in our stores. Ontario pastor getting charged. Well, he's getting fined. His church is being fined for not obeying COVID restrictions. Space Force lieutenant in the Space Force getting busted for talking white supremacy crazy talk on a podcast. And New Zealand closing its doors. Well, shutting its doors. They're not closing them all together, but they just want rich people in New Zealand. And once again, I don't think that's going to work out for them economically, but we'll see what happens. Other countries have tried things like that before. Marjorie Taylor Greene, latest Marjorie Taylor Greene drama, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict taking an ugly turn. Is it about ethnic cleansing? Well, it's hard to make an argument that it's not about ethnic cleansing when you look at the map over time. I think there was a point that if certain groups in Israel were ever pro two-state solution, then a lot of people realize on the right in Israel that the two-state solution is just a fiction, that is not what they are shooting for ultimately. You love Yo-Yo. See, I like Yo-Yo too. Barbara Dick. Oh, and Emma, huh? That's good. A little Jane Austen, right? A little Jane Austen vibe there. Dr. Osiris for Emma. So that's possible, right? So that's it. So if you follow me on Instagram, right, because my Instagram page is, what is it? At Laugh Purgatory, I think. Everything I do is basically branded under Laughing in Disbelief, right? Laughing in Disbelief. So my Instagram is Laughing in Disbelief, at Laughing in Disbelief. So you'll be seeing more cat pictures, or you'll be starting to see cat pictures there of Yo-Yo. I'll be tweeting some more about Yo-Yo at Laugh Purgatory. And of course, I'll be sharing some pictures of Yo-Yo here on the channel. Not too much. We're not going to make this a cat-centric show. Well, all right. So it's already a cat-centric show, but it won't be totally about my cat. That's it. All right. So thank you, Simply Secular Dave, for posting my Twitter link right there. Okay. So 10 o'clock, we have the after party after show. If you want to show up, we're going to be running that. I'm going to be running that. We will be together from 10 to 11. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about, basically. Anything you want to talk about within, not too crazy stuff, right? And what I like about these after party after shows, these open rooms, is that the people here are responsible. So, I feel comfortable with having any of you all, come on and talk, because I don't have to worry about doing any kind of extreme moderating that you see on other channels. All right. You expect it to be all cat? Well, I try to post once a day. I don't know if you saw my latest, what I posted the other day, or what I posted last night on Instagram, but I thought it was freaking hilarious. It was something I found and I posted up on Instagram. But yeah, there'll be more cat stuff on the gram for me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to show you the thank you video for patrons and YouTube members over the weekend. I dropped a video down for patrons and members, an ad-free video about a conversation I had about evolution and teaching with Bertha Vasquez, I believe her name is, from the TIES Institute, the Teachers Institute for Evolutionary Studies. I'm going to try to get her back on the channel, to tell you the truth. I'm going to try to get her back on the channel. So, but let's do the thank you video, and I'll see you at 10, everyone. And if not, then I'll see you tomorrow.